Can you guys hear me okay? All right, excellent. My name is Julie, and I'm going to talk about a concept for a predictive web browser. My inspiration for this is that, as a power web user, I often drill down into obscure pages. For example, if I go to Flickr, I want to download an image, there's like 3 clicks. So wouldn't it be nice if my web browser would just say, hey, I think that you want to end up here, and I could just go directly there. And then kind of the pie in the sky vision would be, as a product manager, you have to make a lot of decisions when you're developing, say, a consumer product with a UI. You have to decide what buttons should go where, which ones should we hide, which ones should we put up front. And that generally works for the most users, but what if there was an intelligent UI that would learn your behavior and actually surface the most interesting features or options? So this is really just a baby step. This is the first time I've ever gotten my own data working in NuPIC. So all I really started with was my own browsing history off of Chrome. I just basically took it off of the SQLite database and came up with basically a parsed URL format that takes each chunk and feeds it into the CLA as a field. And so my web browser is not terribly beautiful yet. It's basically, what I did was I took that browsing history over the last 90 days. I was a little bit shocked to find out that I had 18,000 page visits in the last 90 days, so apparently I use the web a lot. So I trained it on that data, so this is really about what would I see next. And so what you're seeing here is just a basic shell where I can enter a URL and see what the predictions might be. So let me get my little copy-paste sheet here. So probably first and foremost, the most likely thing I'm going to hit is google.com. And I basically did a multi-step prediction where it would say what would be the next click and what would be 3 clicks out. And not surprisingly, it thinks that I'm going to stay on Google, and I guess I like LinkedIn too. So by the way, this is looking at the first 6 path elements, so there's kind of some limit to how much of the URL it can actually look at. Maybe a more interesting example would be, well, let's see, PayPal. What will it do if I go to PayPal? So Google, again. Okay, but GitHub, I go to GitHub a lot, right? This is actually the URL to the code for this project. And Google again, but there's a 30% chance that I'm going to go to GitHub next. But what if I go to one of the Numenta source codes? What will it show me? It will actually predict that I'm going to stay on GitHub. So probably what's happening there is I have my own personal project page up a lot, and I use that as a launching pad, versus if I'm going directly to the Numenta stuff, I'm probably going to be browsing around there. So you kind of get the idea. I could probably keep getting more examples, but that's kind of the first step along the way. I think my biggest challenge here is going to be having enough data to train this on, because I don't expect the average person to send their browsing history to me over the internet. But if anybody knows of any data sets to try, that would be great. So that's basically it.
Does anybody have any questions? Thanks, Julie. Let's see.
Oh.
So this is really cool. I think this is another one of those things that could be, the core of this could be used in so many different ways. You mentioned a couple of them, but just being able to do click prediction of websites is like one of those holy grail problems that everyone is trying to solve. And the fact that you can do it and showing the multiple predictions at each time step, and as well multiple steps into the future, is really cool.
And what you should do next is talk to Ian Danforth, because he has a JavaScript-based port of the CLA. So if you can have a JavaScript, not all of it, I know, but if you can have a JavaScript-based plugin that basically follows your history and then monkey hammers the links that are appearing on your browser window using a JavaScript hosted CLA, then
That's exactly
that could
where I
be-
was
yeah.
going with this. I actually want to do a Chrome plug. It's so easy with a Chrome plugin, their
Yeah, well,
API, you can get everything.
I'd suggest
So,
talking
yeah.
to Ian about that.
Anyway. Right.
I just want to make sure I understood it. So when you were in GitHub and predicted you're going to go to GitHub, it might, if it had the full URL, it might have predicted where you would have gone, but you were only showing a part of it? Is
So, I mean, so the predicted field is only the domain name.
that only the domain
right.
name?
And so I guess I haven't figured out how would I predict multiple URL elements.
Got it.
Um,
Got it. Well,
that would be ideal.
That's something we could easily work on. But I might have understood it. So it basically say, okay, if you had, wasn't possible to do more than that at this point in time. It says, well, most likely the next thing you're going to click on is something with the domain of GitHub.
Right. So that's not super useful in and
No,
of
but
itself.
it's also it's doing the correct thing.
Yeah.
It's not it's not saying, oh, this is. It's just a limitation of how it's set up at the moment. But it could, in theory, predict multiple elements in the URL, and that's.
Yes, I mean,
got it.
that's where I'm going with
That's
this.
good. Oh, and the sequence of URLs, yes. Oh, yeah. Yes. Yeah. I think there's a lot of promise to that.
Thank you.